Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So it's the handicap marks have come out today, and I have highlighted a few that I think are interesting going forward. All of these have dropped in the handicap, and we will start off looking at Fiercely Proud, who's dropped a pound down to 128 after finishing 6th in the Greatwood Hurdle. Now, I actually think it was a really good Greatwood Hurdle. I think the right horses were towards the 4. There was a few that disappointed, but not many. And I actually think Ben Jones got it wrong on the Ben Pauling trained Fiercely Proud. He went down the inside. Now, I think only 2 of them really went down the inside. Him and Under Control. Under Control ended up pulling up. It was just the wrong place to be down the inside, and when he was making ground, turning in, he looked like he was going to play he was going to get involved, but they were just going so much quicker round the outside that all 5 of them in front of him were round the outside. And yeah, Fiercely Proud, I think he's run a really good race here for 6th. And I think he can go much closer next time. It's not going to be, wherever he goes, I don't think it's going to be as competitive as the Greatwood Hurdle. And there's actually a few races that he could go for. There's a handicap at Cheltenham, the Catesby Estate, actually won by Godante last year. Could go for that. Could go to Kempton for this handicap here. The Ladbrokes Boost Your Own Racing Handicap over 2 mile. Got some form at both of those. Obviously, been to Cheltenham, has won a bumper, and also that was a good effort in the Greatwood Hurdle. Went to Kempton, finished 2nd to Lump Sum. Obviously, we know Lump Sum has done all right since then. That was in a Grade 2. Lump Sum has since won a Welsh Champion Hurdle, beating a subsequent winner as well in Steel Alley. So I think that was a very good effort from Fiercely Proud, finishing 2nd in that Grade 2. But the race I think would be even better would be at Doncaster. It's this handicap here. It's actually the most prize money out of all of them. You can see that this is worth 50 on the 14th of December. At Cheltenham, it's 22.5 total prize money, and at Kempton, it's 22. So yeah, target the prize money. It's 50 grand. It's at Doncaster. Has he been to Doncaster before? Yes, he has. He was 3rd behind Jericho de Repene and Lump Sum. Obviously, as I've just said, I thought that was a very good effort behind Lump Sum. At Kempton in the Grade 2, I thought it was a very good effort behind Lump Sum in the Grade 2 at Doncaster as well. And they both got beat by Jericho de Repene, who at the time looked like a horse with the world at his feet. Unfortunately, it went wrong over fences recently. I'm sure he'll be better next time. But yeah, this has got to be, for me, where Fiercely Proud runs at Doncaster on the 14th of December. It's in a few weeks still. That will have given him, nearly a month to get over that run at Cheltenham in the Greatwood Hurdle, and I think he would take all of the beating it, depending on what turns up, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be as competitive as what he faced in the Greatwood Hurdle. So that's Fiercely Proud, who I'm really keen on going forward. The next horse I want to talk about is Aidil, who has dropped another pound. He's dropped £2, sorry. Dropped £2 for his 5th place effort at Ascot over 2 mile, and it's possible that he does want the softer ground. If we actually look back through, his good efforts last year were coming on soft and heavy, good to soft, a decent run on good, although it was a 3rd behind Will Carver and Decorated. In hindsight, that's probably not as good a form as what he showed then when he come on to the softer conditions. His win at Musselburgh, beating Zandabad, his 5th in the county hurdle, that came on heavy going. Maybe he wants softer conditions. I do also feel he might be better now, as he's getting older, over further. And they tried it last year. It didn't quite come off. He finished 3rd. I think I'd like to see him in the Hogmaneigh Hurdle on New Year's Day at Musselburgh. He finished 3rd behind Benson and Holmes St George. Now, Benson had been crying out for a return to 2.5 mile. He finally got it. And when he did, back at Musselburgh, he did win the race. He then dropped in trip, and actually the form was reversed with Aidil at Musselburgh. But I feel that Aidil will now get the trip over 2.5 as he's a little bit older. And he's actually back down. He's back down to 123, having been in this race last year off 125. I would be very keen to see him stepped up in trip for the Hogmaneigh Hurdle. And if it doesn't work, you drop him back to 2 mile for that race that he won last year, the Scottish County Handicap Hurdle. He won that off 124. If he gets beat in this Hogmaneigh Hurdle, then, you know, you drop him back in trip and he'll be even lower rated again. So, you know, he might be 122, 121, which would be lower, off a lower mark than when winning the Scottish County Hurdle as the 100 to 30 favourite. So I think that's quite an obvious plan for me. If I was the owner of Aidil, what I would do with him: back for the Hogmaneigh Hurdle. If it wins, great, you stick him over 2.5 and you probably aim at the Coral Cup, having finished 5th in the county. And if he doesn't win, you go, okay, we'll drop him back in trip and try and win the Scottish County again at Musselburgh. Moving on to Go Dante, who has dropped £2 for finishing 9th at Cheltenham. Now, he didn't actually run badly, I don't feel. When he actually travelled quite nicely, came into it going okay, and then didn't really pick up. He's one that definitely looks like he wants the softer conditions. Look at his form last year. Soft and heavy going. This year, he returned on soft at Fosslas, but he was never trying in that race, with the Greatwood Hurdle in mind. And then it's probably just come up too fast for him at Cheltenham. They've probably had more speed than him, and they've been able to get away towards the end of the race. I would be very tempted with Go Dante now to put all of my eggs in one basket, and what I mean by that is go back for the Betfair Hurdle. You finished 3rd in it last year. You beat the right type of horses. You beat Favour and Dolly the Great, who both looked well handicapped. And you were beaten, in my opinion, by 2 very well handicapped horses in Iberica Lord and Loda Sud. Now, Iberica Lord had previously won the Greatwood Hurdle at Cheltenham in November, and Loda Sud, after finishing 2nd here, went to the County Hurdle, finished 2nd in that, and has looked really good over fences so far. I would be putting all of my eggs in that one basket off a mark of 132. You were beaten off 129. Off a £3 higher mark, if Loda Sud or Iberica Lord were running in this race off a £3 higher mark, I'd be very keen on them. I think they would both go really close. You know, they wouldn't. Loda Sud was rated 129. He's now rated, I'm just having a look on my other screen. He's actually rated 151 over fences, 138 over hurdles. So he's up, even from that, he's up 9 over hurdles. Iberica Lord was winning off 134. He's now rated 144 over hurdles. So, you know, he's up 10. So 9 and 10. The third horse is only up 3. I would be keen to see Go Dante saved for that, and hope they get a bit softer conditions. And then, you know, if he wins that, great. If he doesn't, you just keep looking for those soft ground races quickly, like the Imperial Cup again, or the if there's a soft ground race at Cheltenham, the County Hurdle might turn up to be soft again. I'd be really keen on him on those softer conditions. I think that's what Go Dante needs. Moving on to another one that also ran in the Greatwood Hurdle. I think we've got 3 or 4 from this Greatwood Hurdle. Fiercely Proud, Go Dante, Teddy Blue, and Under Control later on. So yeah, 4 from the Greatwood Hurdle. This one's Teddy Blue. Now, he got really well supported on the day on his first start for Harry Derham. He had dropped in the handicap a little bit, from a high of 136. He was running off 127. And he ran very disappointingly, to be honest. They went forward, and that doesn't suit him. He needs to be weighted without the back. Now, it was probably a tough ask on his first run back. New stable. Maybe it didn't quite, you know, well, it didn't work, did it? He was well beaten in the end. Drop him back slightly in class, and I think he'll go much better next time. He's only rated 124 now. He's dropped £3 for that. There's this handicap here at Aidil on the 21st of December. It's for horses rated 0 to 130, so it would be much easier than the Greatwood Hurdle that he reappeared in. And he's actually got some form at Haydock. A couple of years ago in 2023, he turned up for the Swinton, and he finished 2nd, beaten by Black Poppy. If he'd jumped the last, I think he would have won it. He made a bad mistake at the last and lost all momentum and lost the race, in my opinion. That came off a mark of 132 with the jockey claiming 5 that day. So you could say he was effectively running off 1-2-7. We could turn up here off 1-2-4. Off 1-2-4 in an easier race. You win that, and then you can go back to the likes of Cheltenham, or maybe aim him again at the Sussex Champion Hurdle, something like that. But I think now, because he's had quite a few runs where he's not really been getting competitive, I'd try and find him a confidence booster race, and that looks ideal, this race at Haydock on the 21st of December. Moving on, final one from the Greatwood Hurdle, that's Under Control, who's dropped £3 from 137 to 134. I really like Under Control, and I don't think going down the inside worked. I think it affected the pair of them, Under Control and Fiercely Proud. But the horse again seemed to cut out quite sharply. Came into the Galway Hurdle travelling well, didn't bind a lot to finish 6th. Potentially got away with it that day, having gone so well for a long way. This time didn't get away with it and ended up pulling up. But the handicapper did drop the horse £3 for that, down to 134. I don't really know where they're going to go, but I kind of hope they work back from the Imperial Cup. Been to Sandown before this horse. Won the Novices Championship final, beating Iberico Lord. Iberico Lord, after this, went on to win the Greatwood Hurdle the following season and the Betfair Hurdle the following season. So Under Control beat a really nicely handicapped horse in Iberico Lord at Sandown, over 2 mile. How do you work back from the Imperial Cup would be what I'd be looking out for Under Control. You could they could send it for the Mayor's Hurdle at Doncaster that they finished 2nd in last year, beating Gala Marceau behind Ashrow Diamond. So split a pair of Willie Mullins horses. And just hope that something comes over again and they get, she can run okay without being moved in the handicap, and get a little bit of confidence back and find out what's stopping her at the end of the race. If they can do that in the end of this month and December, come back for January, run okay in that Grade 2, and then turn up in the Imperial Cup, I'd be very keen on Under Control, to be honest. Even off this mark of 134, if she ended up a little bit lower, she could be very interesting in the Imperial Cup. We move on to Triple Trade, who ran okay at Ascot over 2 mile, 2 mile 1. Beaten comfortably by Martator, who's really well supportive of Venetia Williams. And then there was a few others in behind that kind of ran okay. Cotmask, Sans Brouet, and Triple Trade was 4th. Now, Triple Trade finished 4th. Would have actually finished 4th last year in this race had Saint Segal not fallen. Ended up finishing 3rd that day. And then went to Ascot a few weeks later. Ran in the Howden Handicap and won. Went off the 9-4 favourite. Beat Harper's Brook. I think it's going to be between them two again this year. Triple Trade is now rated 130. So £5 lower than when winning. And Harper's Brook, who you can see traded 101 in the run, was rated 133 that day. He's now rated 136 because he did go to Sandown and win. So the horse who finished 2nd is still rated £3 higher. The winner is rated £5 lower. I mean, surely this is where they go with Triple Trade. You go back to Ascot for the Howden in, when was this? This is just before Christmas. And yeah, I think he would take all of the beating again for Joe Tizard and Brendan Powell. Just go back for that Howden. The step up and trip will probably suit. It did last time. He just ran down Harper's Brook late on, potentially suggesting that he even needed a bit further than that. Maybe 2 mile 3 was just on the short side as well. Maybe he needs a bit further than that. And these last few runs over 2 mile have probably just found that he really doesn't have the speed for 2 mile. Flegmatic is this season's Langadan. I am really, really confident on Flegmatic when he runs in the Coral Trophy Handicap Chase at Kempton in February. Ran in this race 2 years ago. Finished 2nd, you can see it here. Finished 2nd, beaten by Our Power by a neck. Ran in it last year, finished 4th, beaten in total by 2.5 lengths. When he ran last year, finished 4th, was running off a mark of 140. When he ran in 2023, was running off a mark of 135. This year, could run off 134 now. Don't run him again until that race in February. I'll be really disappointed if they come out in January, unless they also put another one of their own horses in the race that will definitely win the race, because they ruined their handicap mark last year by winning that race, beating Chianti Classico, went up from 137 to 140. Tristan took 3 off that day, so was effectively running for 134. With Harry then riding, the horse was effectively running for £6 higher mark. Even if you say it was running for £3 higher mark, that 2.5 lengths was lost because of those three or £6. This year, don't need to worry about that. Harry can ride off 134, essentially a £6 lower mark than when being beaten 2.5 lengths. And it's great prize money, as you can see. It's 85 grand. The runner-up, Al Dance, has obviously gone and won a nice race since the Badger Beers and has since been retired. Don't know what Bow to Greatness has done. Let's just have a look on my other screen. Can't think off the top of my head. Just having a look. Bear with me. Bow to Greatness has actually come out and won at Newbury recently in a novice's handicap chase off 129. He was getting beat that day off 133. So yeah, there's a bit of form there. That race actually worked out not too bad at all. And yeah, I'd be really disappointed, A, if Flegmatic doesn't turn up in the Coral Trophy. Hopefully that's just his next run now. And B, if he doesn't take all of the beating in it. Moving on to Kitty's Light, who has dropped £3 for disappointing at Ascot in the Berkshire National. Maybe didn't like the ground. Maybe Harry wasn't confident enough and prominent enough on the horse. Didn't keep after the horse. Stays forever, Kitty's Light. Probably should have been getting involved a little bit earlier. I'm hoping they go, right, we're not going to run again now, because they're down to 137. I hope they go, right, straight to the Eider Chase, the Scottish National and the Bet365 Gold Cup. The last 3 races he won them off 132, 140, 140. If he turns back up in the Eider Chase off 137, I think he takes all of the beating. If they run him again since, between then, I hope they stick him over 3 miles so he gets well beaten and he drops another £2 or £3. But Kitty's Light will definitely be a horse I'll be interested in the spring when he goes up in trip again, probably for the Eider Chase. This was the Eider when he beat the Galloping Bear. Moving on, My Silver Lining is another one that needs to go back up in trip. I think, I kind of feel that this horse is lacking for pace now, even over this 3 mile 1, 3 mile 2. The races at Warwick and Haydock and Uttoxeter have probably just slowed her down, and she's not able to keep up over 3 mile anymore. She's also been, quite high in the ratings. She's now dropping. She's back down to a mark of 127. The last time she ran off 127, she finished 2nd in the Grand National trial behind Yearman. Even off that £5 higher mark, I don't think that's a bad thing to potentially looking at the Classic Chase again in early January. She beat Gallia de la Toe and they were comfortably clear of Gutpan Cologne. Gallia de la Toe could well go well at the weekend in the Coral Handicap Chase, also known as the Hennessy, or formerly known as the Hennessy. And that bit of form would really frank the form of My Silver Lining. So keep an eye out for My Silver Lining when the horse goes back up in trip to 3.5 mile plus. Warwick, if they want to run one more time over 3 and prove that she doesn't have the pace anymore, that could work, because the horse will probably drop in the handicap then. And if she drops in the handicap in early mid-December, and then runs in the Classic Chase at Warwick in January off, say, 124, 125, yeah, I think she would take all of the beating in that. And the final horse I want to talk about is Third Time Lucky, who ran well for a long way at Cheltenham, over 2 mile, behind Matata, and would have been behind Gunsight Ridge. had Gunsight Ridge stood up at the last. Now, Third Time Lucky travelled into it, came there going quite nicely, and I was worried because we were on Matata that day. I was worried that Third Time Lucky was going to be the big danger. He stopped relatively quickly, but he was expected to, really, wasn't he? 584 days off the track. You can forgive him stopping so quickly. For me, it's all about how do they get him back for the Grand Annual. We can see he finished 4th in this in 2023, beaten by horses that had good form coming into it. And he got beat that day off 149. Well, he's already down to 142. If he ran it off a £7 lower mark, you'd be quite keen on him to go really well. And he's demonstrated again that he does still retain, I think, a lot of that ability when he was finishing second for under his first run for 584 days, sorry. And yeah, I think he will massively step forward from that. I'm hoping they maybe even try a graded race next time with him, just to keep his mark about the same, but keep him fit. Maybe go one more run in late January, then turn up in the Grand Annual off around this mark, 142, 141, 140. They don't have a lot to play with, so I wouldn't want him dropping too much. But if he turned up off 140 to 142 for the Grand Annual, I think he'd have a great chance, to be honest. That is Third Time Lucky. So a quick recap of those horses. Fiercely Proud has a few targets. I hope we see him in the Doncaster race because that's got the most prize money. I thought going down the inside didn't work. But he ran a nice race in a competitive handicap. Aidil kind of suggests to me that he might not have the pace over 2 on this ground, but going back up in trip could certainly work. I'd like to see him try the Hogmaneigh Hurdle again. If it doesn't work and he proves that he doesn't stay that trip, then you can drop him back again for the Scottish County Hurdle. Go Dante, I thought the ground is the big thing for Go Dante. He definitely wants softer ground. Keep an eye out for him. I hope they stick him straight into the Betfair Hurdle now. Don't run again, and hope they get soft or heavy conditions for the Betfair Hurdle. Teddy Blue should be dropped in class for me. There is a race at Haydock. This 0 to 130, previously finished second in a Swinton when he should have won that off a higher mark than what he would run in this easier race back at Haydock. Under Control seems to be stopping. What's causing her to stop would be my question. But I would also like them to target the Imperial Cup, where I think she's shown her best bit of form probably when finishing when beating Iberica Lord in the Novice Championship final. Work back from the Imperial Cup. If she runs off a similar mark to this, I think she would go well. Triple Trade has dropped in the handicap from when he last won at Ascot over 2 mile 2 when staying on that day. Maybe 2 mile is too short. Go back up and trip for the Howden. Off a £5 lower mark than when you went off favourite. Surely that's where they go. Flegmatic is this season's Langadan. Has to go for that Coral Trophy Handicap Chase at Kempton in February. Kitty's Light when coming back out in the spring. Don't really or won't be interested over the next couple of months. Not until we come back for the February races. My Silver Lining wants to go back up in trip. Could find one more race between now and the Classic Chase, but if it comes anywhere within the £5 higher mark, which it currently is, for that Classic Chase, I'd be very keen on that. And finally, Third Time Lucky, maybe one more run somewhere, stick around this handicap mark, go back for that Grand Annual, and I think he would go close.